So this was my Freightliner. He's an FL112 maybe. This was my truck, maybe a year ago. I sold it to a local farmer, and he went out to start it in the wintertime and didn't have it plugged in, I guess. But anyways, he starts it up, or he's going to start it, and it stops cranking, I think. And anyways, he puts a new starter on it, new batteries in it, and it'll crank kind of not real fast, but it cranks fast and then it slows down to a stop, is what it was doing. And so they thought it's kind of like it was hydro locking. So they pulled the injectors out of it, pulled the push rods out of it, and then I think what all they did, they disconnected the air compressor on the side of the engine down here, and they still could not get it to turn. It was doing the same thing. It would crank and just kind of lock up, crank and lock up. Even with a bar on the front of it, it wouldn't turn. And so he gave up on it, and then he decided to sell it. So he put it on Facebook, and then I found it. I sent it to one of my buddies saying, hey, look, it's my old truck. And he ends up calling the guy, and he buys the truck. So we get it back here and start tearing into it, trying to figure out, he'd given up on figuring out why it doesn't crank. Anyhow, we finished pulling the head off. We took the gears off the front so the cam would spin free. The cam spins free. Everything spins free. Then we actually start pulling the pistons out, and the crankshaft still doesn't turn. So at this point, we've disconnected everything off the engine. We had the main caps off. All the pistons are out, the rods are out. It still don't turn over. So at this point, we decide we got to drop the transmission. So we pulled the transmission out this morning. See it down there. And what we found was, I don't know if it's crazy or sad or what. So when they changed the starter, I'm guessing the starter probably was originally bad. They put the bolts in the wrong spot, and there's one bolt that's too long, and it was actually pushed into the back of the flywheel. So it wasn't allowing the motor to crank. And I'm guessing it had enough, the starter had enough amperage going through it that it was, it would crank, but then it would get hot, and then it would lose its horsepower, let's say, and then it would stop cranking. But you leave it cool down, it would do it again. Anyhow, it was just a bolt in the wrong spot, and this motor actually looked excellent inside. No scarring on the cylinder walls. The pistons look nice. So we're gonna put rings in it. Yeah, those pistons look real nice. All the bearings look nice. We'll clean it up. Bearings, rings, gaskets. What a mess. Just for a bolt being in the wrong spot. So if you got an M11 Cummins and you change the starter, make sure the bolts go back in the right spot. Might save you a lot of headache.